कनाडा की वीज़ा पॉलिसी चेंज हो गई है जिसमें 10 साल का वीज़ा ख़त्म कर दिया। अब शॉर्ट टर्म वीज़ा आ रहा है। इस पूरी वीडियो में डिटेल बताई हुई है मैंने। आप पूरी वीडियो एंड तक देखें, आपको सारी चीज़ें समझ आ जाएंगी। और नेक्स्ट वीडियो में मैं आपको डिटेल बताऊंगा कि वीज़ा अप्लाई कैसे करना है।
The days of guaranteed 10-year multiple entry tourist visas are over, and shorter, stricter visa terms are taking their place. In this video, we'll uncover why Canada made this decision, how it could affect your future travel plans, and what you can do to adapt. Plus, we'll dive into an important question: how exactly do these changes affect travelers like you? Stick around until the end to learn what you need to know to stay ahead of these new rules. Let's get started. A major policy shift for visitors to Canada. For years, Canada has been a favorite destination for travelers worldwide, thanks to its stunning landscapes, thriving multicultural cities, and strong international connections. For many, the process of visiting was made simpler by the availability of a 10-year multiple entry tourist visa. This visa gave travelers the freedom to come and go without needing to reapply, provided no single stay exceeded 6 months. The policy was a lifeline for frequent visitors such as business professionals, families reconnecting across borders, and tourists returning to explore more of Canada. However, in late 2024, Canada made a major shift in its visa and immigration policies. The automatic issuance of 10-year tourist visas is no longer standard. The Canadian government confirmed this change as part of a broader effort to address concerns about misuse and strain on processing systems. Immigration officers will now evaluate each application individually, with shorter visa validity periods expected to become more common. The decision has sparked debate across industries, from tourism to advocacy groups, raising questions about its potential impact on travelers and Canada's international reputation. Why has Canada made this change? To understand why Canada has moved away from automatic 10-year tourist visas, we need to consider the pressures facing its immigration system and domestic priorities. 1. Overwhelmed immigration processing systems. Canada's immigration system has been managing an unprecedented surge in applications for permanent residency, study permits, work permits, and visitor visas. The country's reputation as a safe, stable, and welcoming destination has fueled this growth, but it has also created significant bottlenecks in processing. Visitor visas, in particular, have added to these backlogs. By moving away from automatic long-term tourist visas, the government aims to reduce strain on the system and categories, such as international students and skilled workers. 2. Misuse of tourist visas. The misuse of long-term tourist visas was another driving factor behind this policy shift. While most travelers use their visas responsibly, some have exploited loopholes to stay in Canada for extended periods without authorization. Examples include travelers returning briefly to their home country to reset their 6-month stay limit, effectively creating a semi-permanent residency. Others using tourist visas to work informally, bypassing labor regulations. These actions placed added pressure on enforcement resources, leading to stricter application evaluations. 3. Aligning with national priorities. Canada is also facing pressing challenges, including a housing affordability crisis and overburdened public infrastructure in healthcare and transportation. While tourists are not the direct cause of these issues, the government has taken a comprehensive approach to managing population pressures. By tightening visitor policies, resources can be better allocated to permanent residents and skilled workers who have a more sustained economic impact. How does this affect travelers? Thanks for staying with us this far. We appreciate your time and hope you're finding this information valuable. Now, let's dive into what these changes mean for travelers like you. No more automatic long-term visas. In the past, travelers who met basic criteria could almost always count on receiving a 10-year multiple-entry visa. Under the new policy, the duration and type of visa will now be determined on a case-by-case basis. While longer-term visas may still be issued occasionally, most applicants should expect single-entry or shorter-term multiple-entry visas instead. This change introduces uncertainty, as travelers will no longer have the assurance of a single application covering a decade of trips. Stricter application requirements. Canada's immigration authorities have also introduced more stringent criteria for tourist visa approvals. Applicants will now need to provide detailed evidence of their financial stability, ties to their home country, and travel history. This includes proof of sufficient funds for the duration of the trip, employment or property documentation to show intent to return home, compliance with visa rules in Canada and other countries. Groups most affected. Some groups will face greater challenges under the new system. 1. Frequent travelers. Professionals attending business meetings or conferences, and families regularly visiting loved ones in Canada, may need to apply more frequently. 2. Travelers from high-volume nations. Countries like India, China, and the Philippines, which have large diasporas in Canada, are expected to see longer processing times and more rigorous evaluations. 3. Low-income applicants. Shorter visa durations may increase reapplication costs, creating financial strain for travelers from developing countries. Ripple effects on Canada's economy and society. Tourism industry concerns. Canada's tourism industry relies heavily on international visitors, many of whom traveled multiple times on long-term tourist visas. In 2022, the sector generated approximately $45 billion, with a significant share coming from international travelers. The shift to shorter-term visas could discourage repeat visits, potentially reducing revenue for key sectors like hotels. British Columbia, where tourism plays a central role in the economy, may be particularly affected. The changes to Canada's visa policy may also impact the wider perception of the country as a welcoming and accessible destination. For many travelers, the ease of obtaining a long-term visa contributed to Canada's reputation for openness and hospitality. By introducing more restrictive terms, the policy risks deterring potential visitors who might perceive the new system as cumbersome or uncertain. This could lead to a ripple effect, where other industries like event planning, cultural festivals, and international sporting events see reduced attendance and participation, further straining regions heavily reliant on tourist-driven revenue. Business travel challenges. Canada is a hub for international trade and conferences, attracting professionals who rely on long-term visas to attend meetings and events. The new restrictions could complicate travel plans, making it harder for businesspeople to secure timely visas. Shorter visa durations and increased scrutiny might discourage companies from hosting or attending large-scale events in Canada, potentially shifting international collaborations to other countries. Advocacy and criticism. Advocacy groups and immigration organizations have expressed concerns about the equity of the new system. They argue that frequent reapplications create unnecessary financial and logistical burdens, especially for travelers from developing nations. Families with strong ties to Canada, particularly from countries like India and the Philippines, may find it harder to maintain regular visits due to higher costs and the unpredictability of visa durations. These criticisms highlight the risk of the new policy disproportionately affecting low-income travelers and communities. With what can you do to adapt? While the changes present new challenges, there are strategies travelers can use to navigate the updated policies. 1. Apply well in advance. Submit your visa application as early as possible to avoid delays and allow time for additional documentation requests. 2. Explore visitor visa extensions. If you're already in Canada, consider applying for a visitor visa extension to avoid reapplying from your home country. 3. Check for ETA eligibility. If you're from a visa-exempt country, use the electronic travel authorization system for easier, short-term travel approvals. 4. Seek expert guidance. Immigration consultants and lawyers can help streamline your application process and increase the likelihood of approval. 5. Maintain a strong travel record. Demonstrating compliance with past visa conditions can strengthen your application and improve your chances of receiving a longer-term visa. The bigger picture. What does this mean for Canada's future? Canada's decision to phase out automatic 10-year tourist visas signals a shift toward a more selective and controlled immigration system. While the country remains open to visitors, it is prioritizing applicants who align with its long-term economic and social goals. Future policy directions. This change could pave the way for further reforms, including enhanced digital systems to improve visa processing efficiency, expanding pathways for skilled workers and international students who contribute significantly to Canada's growth, balancing openness with control. Ultimately, these changes reflect Canada's effort to balance its reputation as a welcoming nation with the practical need to manage immigration effectively. While challenges for travelers are undeniable, these steps aim to preserve the integrity and sustainability